All right, we have this 2001 Chevy Blazer, and the issue with it is it will not go into four-wheel drive. And so we are going to take a look at that and see what's going on. And let me just do a quick rundown of this vehicle. Now this one, you've got a couple of options on these. You have the standard four-wheel drive on these, or you have the AutoTrac. And let me come in here and show you how you know. This one has the auto four-wheel drive with the 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. That tells you that this is the AutoTrac version of the four-wheel drive on these. And so a lot of the videos that you're finding are going to tell you that there's a vacuum valve on the top of the transfer case, and that's not true on this vehicle. While we're in here, let me just show you what's going on with this. Okay, there we're in 2 high. If we try to go into 4 high or 4 low, it just blinks and flashes and doesn't do anything. Or if you try and engage the auto four-wheel drive, the same thing. It doesn't do anything. So let's just go back to 2 high. Eventually, after a while, that'll time out. Okay, let's go out under the hood and I can show you what goes on with these and how they work. Like I said, on those that don't have the AutoTrac, what you have is you have a valve, vacuum transfer valve on the top of the transfer case. And what that does is the transfer case itself initiates the vacuum at that point. And I've got a charger on this because this battery was run down. And then what that does is there's a vacuum line that would then come around and come up under the battery tray here. You'd pull the battery tray off, and that's where the actuator is that actuates a cable that goes down to the front axle and engages the front axle. So on this you can hear that the transfer case itself is engaging. You can hear it, but the axle itself isn't engaging. And the way these work is on this is where there's a solenoid that switches the vacuum and feeds the vacuum down under the battery tray to the actuator here. So that's the same on the standard four-wheel drive as it is on the AutoTrac vehicles. The difference is instead of coming off the transfer case, you have the vacuum that comes here from the switching solenoid at this point. This then comes over here to a T right here, and then this has the main vacuum that comes off from the intake manifold down there. If we start this up, we'll see that there is no vacuum at this point, which means it's between here and the intake manifold. And if you come over here, and if you follow this along, you can see, maybe you can see, let me get this light over here a little better, that vacuum tube is completely destroyed. And that's what feeds the main vacuum over to this T. And if you look at that, it's supposed to connect right there. This is supposed to connect right there. And as you can see, it's not even connected there. It's actually broken off at that point. And there you go. So that's most likely our issue. So let's replace this vacuum line and see if we have four-wheel drive again. All right, I've got some new vacuum tube here. We're going to replace this. So let's get that out of the way. And I'm not going to undo these zip ties. We'll just well, I guess that's already undone. Okay. piece of vacuum tube down in there that we need to clear off. Okay, got that cleared off. I'm just going to push that on. I'm going to move this camera because I can't. I need two hands to do this, but it's just going on right there. Okay, there we go. You got that pushed down on there, and look at some of this other vacuum tube, and that one actually looks pretty good. And this one that goes to that and the one that goes from there down don't look so good, so I think I'll replace both of those. But just for fun, let's just get this one on and get it tested. All right, I've replaced the main vacuum coming off from the intake manifold, and then I replaced the vacuum that goes over to that solenoid, that vacuum switch solenoid. And this was cracked here, so I replaced that. So we have decent vacuum now going from here over. However, it's still not going into four-wheel drive. And this vacuum tube is pretty well cracked. I do have vacuum here. I haven't measured it to see what the actual vacuum is here, or anywhere, to see if it's strong enough. But this just cracked right off. I don't know if you can see it there. That just broke easily when I was trying to pull this off. So I'm going to replace the vacuum line that's going from that solenoid over here under the battery. So we'll go ahead and take the battery out, we'll replace that, and then we'll be able to see the actuator down under there also and see if it's actually engaging and if the cable is even free. So let's get going with that. So we'll remove the battery first. And you can tell we've got a little issue here we'll have to deal with on our coolant reservoir. Like I said, there are several things that need attention on this vehicle. And down there, 13 millimeter. There we go. Okay. Now to remove this, we have, this is going to have to come off because that stud that comes up through there is mounted down below. So we'll take that off, and then the tray is going to pull off over that. This tray is loose in here. It's supposed to have a mount right there, and it looks like the nut on the other side is gone. And then it has a mount right over here. So for now, I'm not going to worry about that. We'll just remove this one, 13 millimeter. All right. Here we go. Here's our actuator right there. And let's check and see if our cable is free here. Yeah, that's moving freely, and you can hear it clicking, trying to engage down in that axle. Okay, and this is a vacuum tube coming down. Well, how about that? Vacuum tube isn't even connected. You can see there. Obviously that can't work if that's not even connected. So let's connect it first of all and see what happens. All right, we got that vacuum tube back on. Let's get this thing started up, see if that's going to engage now. And let me trim this broken part. And this vacuum tube, this smaller here, is a 5/32 vacuum tube, 3/16. It goes over a 3/16 nipple. So these nipples are 3/16. Vacuum tube itself, inside diameter, is 5/32. There we go. So yeah, 5/32 on that, 3 seconds on that. And then the other is actually 7/32, this bigger vacuum tube. 7/32 goes over a 1/4 inch nipple. Okay, well, let's see if that's now going to engage. And in order to do that, I'm going to need to hook the battery up and get this started again, and then I'll remove the battery. And we'll be careful not to short this out while we're doing that. You could put something over that after you pull it off just to make sure that we don't bump it and short it. Maybe I'll do that. All right, let's get this started. Start this up. And then we'll remove the battery so we can see what's going on in there. Keep that from accidentally shorting out. Okay, now you should be able to get a good look down there at that actuator. And we are now in four-wheel drive. Take you inside and show you. You should have seen that actuator engage. I didn't see it because I was in pushing the button. And there you have it. We are now in 4 high. And let's go back to 2 high. There you go. Just that fast. Okay, back to 2 high. Just for fun. Let's try 4 low. And we are in 4 low, just that fast. 2 high. Okay, there you go. We now have a working 4-wheel drive. And again, this is different on this 4x4 with the AutoTrac that has the auto 4-wheel drive with the 4 button than it is on the other. It's much more It's an easier, simpler system because you don't have that valve on top of the transfer case on this one. But that does it. I'll just put the battery tray back in, put the battery back in, and I may replace that other vacuum hose. I may not. I'll inspect it well. But at least now you've kind of seen it all on these. The other issue with these that can go wrong is that solenoid, the valve up there on the firewall that switches to actuate it and switches the vacuum over. But it's a fairly simple system as far as this is concerned, as you've seen. So hopefully this helps you out.